أصل إلى الجزء الأخير من هذا اللقاء ونستضيف السفير البريطاني في بيروت هيوغو شورتر. It's good to have you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.
أهلا وسهلا فيك بinterviews. Unfortunately, we've witnessed last week another terrorist attack in London. What are the implications of those terrorist attacks in your country?
Well, I mean, first of all, there were a number of innocent victims, and one has to think of them in the first place. Secondly, our emergency services were able to respond very quickly, and our security agencies have followed up the attack with significant results since then, which is all very reassuring. Nonetheless, it's clear that this kind of attack will remain a risk for the foreseeable future. This is a long, drawn-out campaign against terrorism, which isn't unique to the United Kingdom. It's something that is worldwide and that, of course, affects Lebanon as well.
It does affect Lebanon, and we've seen also the reports last week, especially from embassies, saying that there's a high security alert in Beirut. Do you have any intelligence regarding Lebanon?
Well, look, every now and again, when it appears that there's an increased risk, we have to remind our citizens to be vigilant. People on holiday or people outside their normal environment tend to be less able to pick up information from what's going on around them. They can't follow the local media, often they don't speak the local language.
But, excuse me, how reliable it was? Because it came from embassies and not from Lebanese security forces.
Well, the thing is that one can never tell 100% when an attack will happen, or it's extraordinarily rare to be able to do that. But I want to be clear that we cooperate very closely with the Lebanese security forces. This is not something that they were in the dark about. It's something that it's the kind of issue that we work closely with them on. And I don't think it should be a surprise that every now and again the level of concern goes up. We all know that in Lebanon, as in the UK and as elsewhere, there are every now and again increased levels of threat, and it's normal for us to warn our traveling public that is the case.
Well, you've been in Lebanon for almost 2 years now, and how do you assess the situation in Beirut?
You mean the security situation?
Security situation right now, since it's the talk of the town.
Well, you know, I think the thing to remember is that the Lebanese security agencies have done a superb job of keeping Lebanon safe over the last years. I mean, they have been working very hard and they have been very successful. But the reality is that no security system, however good it is, can guarantee security 100% of the time. I think the Lebanese know that. The British know it after our experience this year and in previous years. It's simply a fact of life, and we have to be prepared for moments where there is a spike in the threat. But that shouldn't mean panic. It should mean increased vigilance. It should mean taking the normal precautions, but going about one's daily life. I mean, in the UK, we increased the threat level last weekend, and the Prime Minister was very clear that she encouraged people to go about their daily lives as normal, but with an increased level of vigilance.
Were you pleased to be appointed ambassador in Lebanon? How did you take the news, and what was your perception at that time about Beirut?
Well, I mean, I was absolutely delighted to be appointed here. Lebanon, for me as a French speaker, has always been on my map as an option to go on a diplomatic posting to. I've always known that Lebanon is a beautiful country with an amazing variety of food and landscapes. And since I've been here, every now and again I ask my driver to slam on the brakes so that I can take a photograph, which I put out on Twitter. You know, there is
that I retweet very often.
Well, thank you for that. But there's such a variety here of people, of culture, and so on. And for a diplomat, there's a lot going on as well. The politics are complex. The regional situation, I don't need to tell the Lebanese this, is equally complex. And there's a lot for us to do. And I've been very lucky because the UK is investing a lot in Lebanon. The British government is doing a lot here, which gives me tools to try to help the Lebanese on a number of top priorities, whether it be security through the army, whether it be
women empowerment, helping refugees, and
helping
the
Lebanese
Lebanese army
with the refugees.
Yes, the hosting communities.
Yes, helping local municipalities with key problems like water management, irrigation, waste management, and so on. We've done a lot here, and to be honest, there are not many ambassadors who have the amount of tools that I have to help Lebanon.
So you have funding. You're talking especially about.
I have a resource.
Yes,
that's every ambassador's dream, is to have something to work with.
Since you tackled the help and the support that your government is giving to Lebanon, let's watch that movie that you prepared, I think, in the embassy, and then we'll continue with more politics.
Thank you.
10,452 كيلومتر مربع، 4 ملايين نسمة، أكثر من 1,000,000 لاجئ سوري مسجل. لبنان بلد الرسالة والتعايش والتسامح. بيستضيف لبنان أكبر عدد من اللاجئين بالنسبة للفرد الواحد بالعالم. من بداية النزاع بسوريا سنة 2011 وقفت المملكة المتحدة والأسرة الدولية حد لبنان فعلياً ومش بالحكي. كرم وصمود اللبنانيين ما له مثيل. سبب دفء الناس الغير مسبوق ضغط كبير على النظام التربوي والبنية التحتية والاقتصاد المحلي. نحن عارفين هالأمر. الأمل رغم الصعوبات. من الشمال للجنوب، من بيروت للبقاع، وبالتعاون مع الحكومة اللبنانية والمجتمع الدولي لبينا طلبات البلديات والأهالي لتنفيذ مشاريع كتيرة بأكثر من 250 بلدية بلبنان. شوارع مضوية باللوحات الشمسية بصيدا وببنين وتربل وكفر جرة. خزانات للمي بالخرايب ومجد العنجر والهبارية. أرصفة وقنوات ري بوادي خالد والحيصة.
الطرق الزراعية مهمة جدا. ساهمت برفع مستوى الزراعة ورياحة المزارع. كانت المزارعين بحاجة جدا لها، يعني لأنه ما حدا كان يقدر يفوت على أرضه من أيام الشتاء. ملاعب
رياضية ومساحات ترفيهية بتعلبايا وأبلياس والبعة، ومشاريع لإدارة النفايات بالسرفند وشبعة ومكسة، وكنا دايما جاهزين لنلبي الطلب.
اجى مشروع UNDP بمكانه الصحيح، قدم لنا كل شيء نحن بحاجة له، من مكبس لفرامة لمولد كهرباء لبكبات اللي بضبوا المواد المفرزة، إضافة للمستوعبات اللي بنوزعها على البيوت.
هن نساء من أهل البلد بيشتغلوا بتعاونيات نسائية بالبيسرية، وهدفهم تحسين مدخولهم وتحقيق استقلاليتهم.
أول ما أسسنا وجينا على المطبخ ما كان في شيء بالمطبخ، ونحن هلأ بس تسجل التعاونية وتصير رسميا فبدنا ننزل على السوق ويصير عندنا إنتاج.
صيد اليوم، مزاد صباحي وبيع للسمك كل النهار. وهيك تعاونيات مثل الموجودة بالزهرانة بتساعد صيادي السمك يزيدوا مدخولهم وينوعوا طرق بيعهم.
السمك ريح الصياد كتير. معنا كانوا بالاول يبعتوا سمكتهم على الصيدة ويبيعوهم، لانه صار هون وقريب زاد من انتاجهم، عزز الشغل هون، عاش الواحد يتكلم، يعني عطى مردود للصياد، عطى نظرة للمنطقة كلها انه في سوق سمك حديث.
ولضمان ما يضيع جيل، بآخر 3 سنين كل ولد بالمدارس الرسمية بلبنان عمره بين 6 و15 سنة فات على المدرسة مجانا وأخذ كتبه المدرسية مجانا، بالإضافة لتحسين بنوعية التعليم.
بس صار في نزوح سوري، فتحت المدارس الرسمية أبوابها لاستقبال الطلاب حتى ما تدلى بالشوارع. عندي دوامين، أنا دوام الأول بنات 315 بنت، الدوام الثاني 822 طالب سوري اجوا هودي بعد النزوح على المدرسة، صار يجي مساعدات لتخفيف العبء على المجتمع اللبناني. المساعدات عم تتوزع بالتساوي على طلاب الدوام الأول وطلاب الدوام الثاني.
بلندن بشباط 2016 التزمت الحكومة البريطانية والأسرة الدولية بدعم غير مسبوق لبلدان مثل لبنان عم تتأثر بالأزمة بسوريا، وكانت حصة لبنان 1.9 مليار دولار من الدعم الدولي. وكمان ببروكسل تم الإعلان عن مساعدات إضافية للبنان. نحن مع لبنان وعم نشتغل سوا إيد بإيد مع الحكومة اللبنانية والوزارات المعنية والمنظمات الغير حكومية المحلية والدولية. والمملكة المتحدة عم بتقوم بدورها كثالث أكبر دولة مانحة للبنان. لبنان موطن الطاقات الشبابية ونبع الأمل. نحن وياكن عم نستثمر بالمستقبل تيزدهر لبنان هلأ وبالسنين اللي جاية. نحن بنوعدكن كنا سوا ورح نضل سوا.
Mr. Ambassador, now that we have seen this film together, how is your country helping Lebanon when it comes to the issue of refugees and displaced?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that Lebanon is carrying a huge burden here, and we acknowledge that, and Lebanon needs assistance from the international community. The United Kingdom was by Lebanon's side right from the start of this refugee crisis, and we are still the third largest bilateral donor here in Lebanon. We have been supporting Lebanon in various areas, in education, public education, to help Lebanese as well as Syrian children to go to school and have a high quality education at school. We've been helping Lebanese municipalities, particularly those with large numbers of refugees, and this year we'll be helping 1 in every 5 municipalities in this country with things like water treatment, solid garbage disposal, irrigation, local roads and so on, to help those communities deal with the huge pressures that the increase in population implies. And then another area which is very important to everyone, which is economic opportunities, jobs, that is. We've been working on that, and we will be making an announcement in the coming weeks about how we're going to support the creation of more jobs for Lebanese as well as Syrian refugees.
But because of this burden that you just mentioned, Lebanon's economy is suffering a lot. Do you have concerns when it comes to this social economic problem in Lebanon?
So, of course, we have concerns. I mean, we know that the economy is underperforming compared to before the Syrian civil war. A lot of the problem comes from the fact that Lebanon is now cut off from its export markets that used to be reached through Syria to the Gulf and to Saudi Arabia and so on. Those routes are no longer available. Of course, the refugees themselves represent a burden on Lebanon. And we and the international community have been working very hard to try to mitigate the impact of this refugee crisis on the Lebanese people. I know there is still a lot to do. We remain committed. We are, as I say, major donors here, and we encourage other countries to step up and support Lebanon.
While congratulating the Army Commander-in-Chief, General Joseph Aoun, on the victory of Fajr al-Jarud, you said the army has completed their tasks. It is unfortunate that ISIS fighters have been allowed to flee via Syria. How did the British government react to what happened between Hezbollah and Daesh? Did you see a deal here?
So the first thing to say is that the army reached its objectives. It fulfilled the mission that was set for it by the political authorities. It cleared Lebanese territory of terrorists, and it also acquired the information about where the Lebanese soldiers were buried.
Excuse me to interrupt.
Yes.
And apparently it was with the cooperation of Hezbollah, with a close cooperation with Hezbollah and maybe the Syrian army.
So what happened once the Daesh got over the border is something that was not within the control of the Lebanese army. The Lebanese army has never been active on the other side of the border. And I'm not going to go into the ins and outs.
No, but you're repeating exactly what some Lebanese politicians are saying, which for some doesn't make sense. Because there was a battle and it's only normal to have cooperation from both sides.
Well, I mean, do not think that the army needed any support from Hezbollah or indeed from the regime to win its battle against Daesh.
How do you know
That was not
about
the
that?
case.
Why are you so sure about it?
Because we are partners of the army and have been partners of the army for a number of years. But let me come back to your question, because you were asking about our reaction to what happened to the Daesh terrorists once they got into Syria. And our starting point is this. First of all, we don't do deals with terrorists. We don't exchange prisoners. We don't pay ransoms, because we think that that strengthens the terrorists. So that's one starting point. The other thing is that the UK is a very strong and active member of the anti-Daesh coalition. We're the second largest military contributors. So, of course, we were very disappointed to see that these fighters who have committed terrible crimes inside Lebanon, who've been inside Lebanese territory for 3 years, fighting the army, who have killed and kidnapped Lebanese soldiers and policemen, were then facilitated across Syrian territory to eastern Syria. I think a lot of people in Lebanon were disappointed by that, and we were certainly disappointed too.
So you're telling me your government's policies, even if you have hostages with a terrorist organization like Daesh, you wouldn't exchange and you wouldn't...
That's right.
It has always been like this?
For many years. It's our public policy. It's a known policy.
Okay. So I want to go back to this help that your government is giving for the Lebanese army. We've seen that you trained more than 11,000 troops, built more 20 advanced operation bases, and 30 border control tours. There are questions about these towers that you're building. I said it in French before. Those towers, or those, I don't know what to call it, the post, control post.
Watch towers, if you like.
Yes, yes. Some are thinking that maybe this is like spying towers to see how Hezbollah is entering to Syria, coming out of Syria, and maybe monitoring these, this border coming back and forth.
Well, I mean, our starting point is that an army, a strong army, has control of a country's borders. That's what our starting point is. For the last 5 years, we've been working with the army to build border regiments that control the borders with Syria.
But don't you have control on this post?
No, these are entirely Lebanese army units that man these posts, that use the equipment, that control the ground around these watchtowers. And they are fulfilling what a normal army should be doing that has the monopoly of force in a state. And they are also establishing control over the border in places which the Lebanese army has never before controlled. I mean, I've been out to visit some of these towers, and you should see the pride of the Lebanese soldiers when they're raising the flag for the first time in areas that have basically been outside state control for as long as anyone can remember. That's what this is about. It's about...
So it's not about spying on Hezbollah?
It's not about spying on anyone in particular. It's about the legitimate authority of the state being exercised all along Lebanese borders.
So, but are you telling me here that you don't have any access on this post in any, I don't know, any kind of access, eavesdropping maybe?
Look, that's not what this is about. This is about, I mean, of course, that, you know, maybe people who've seen too many James Bond films think that there's some big secret agenda.
Some
but
conspiracy.
This is a very simple project.
But you know, history tells us that there was a lot of conspiracies.
there are always conspiracies,
Yeah,
but I can
it's
assure
not always not vraisemblable.
I can assure you that this isn't one of them. This is quite a simple project. It's about creating units in the Lebanese army that are trained and equipped and have the infrastructure to allow the army to do its normal job as an instrument of the state. And the army, of course, comes under the authority of the political leadership, and they respond to that political leadership. But I think that the operations that we saw this summer show that when that political leadership gives them the mission, they are fully capable of fulfilling that mission. They were fully capable of conducting this operation against Daesh, and they would have been fully capable of conducting the operation against Nusra if they had been given the authority to do that.
You wanted to see the army doing that a battle instead of Hezbollah?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Aren't these internal Lebanese affairs? Are you supposed as a diplomat to give opinion about that?
I think so, because the issue of Hezbollah and non-state forces in Lebanon is a matter which is on the agenda of the UN Security Council. Mm-hmm. So we have a legitimate right to comment on that issue.
Why do you have this strict policy of not talking, dealing, having any connection with Hezbollah?
Well, as the experts at least know, and many of your viewers will know, Hezbollah is, at least the military wing of Hezbollah, is listed as a terrorist organization in the United Kingdom and in the European Union. And we don't think that in those circumstances we should be engaging in a dialogue with Hezbollah.
But you mentioned the military wing. What about the other wing? Because you don't have any connection even with the ministers of Hezbollah. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. That's correct.
So this is the political wing, supposedly.
Yes, I know, but the political and the military wing are not completely independent from each other. And frankly, we don't really see what benefit there would be from my engaging, for example, with the leadership of Hezbollah. Do you really think I would be able to change their mind?
I cannot comment on that. However, I can see that some of your colleagues, some diplomats, Westerners, they do speak to Hezbollah. The UN envoy does, the EU does. So why are the British positioning themselves differently when it comes to this issue?
We're not alone. Others don't speak to Hezbollah.
The Germans, they do, no? They brokered the deal between Hezbollah and Israel.
I think you're talking about 15 years ago or more.
No, less than this.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm telling you what our policy is now, and frankly, I don't think a different policy would achieve better results.
Do you think there will be parliamentary elections in Lebanon?
I very much hope so, and I say so whenever I see a senior political leader here in Lebanon. I think it's very important that Lebanon's status as one of the few democracies in the Middle East should be maintained. And I can't continue to say to London that Lebanon is a genuine democracy if parliamentary elections are postponed time and time again. There should have been parliamentary elections in 2013.
Yes.
So I really hope that it will be possible, and I think it should be. I see no reason why it wouldn't happen to hold the parliamentary elections by May next year.
When I remember the municipal election, there was a UN resolution asking the Lebanese government to do it on time. We don't see for these upcoming elections the same pressure from external forces or powers. Why is it so?
No, the pressure is there. As elections approach, that tends to become a bit more public. But in Security Council discussions of Lebanon, which happen every 3 months, all members express their wish to see elections happening on time here. The International Support Group, which is a group of countries that are particularly concerned by Lebanon's stability and security and prosperity, regularly states its desire to see elections happen on time.
Mr. Ambassador, this is my last question. How do you see the future of Lebanon?
Well, look, the future of Lebanon is in the hands of the Lebanese. I think it's very easy, or it's, how can I say, one often hears from Lebanese that this or that outside power is influencing Lebanon in one direction or another. And I can understand that. I mean, the history explains that in part. But I think that what I would like to see is the Lebanese understand that they hold their future in their own hands. And a people who have the amazing talents, the energy, the international perspective that the Lebanese have, really have every tool to make their country a success. But it, in the end, lies in their own hands. Lebanon's friends, like the United Kingdom, will help Lebanon. We will support you all the way. But in the end, we can't want it more than you do. It's for the Lebanese to make that difference. And I really believe they can.
I have one more last question, and it's about Syria.
Yes.
Do you think the war is over in Syria, and what we've seen now is the last chapter?
I think anyone who tries to predict what happens there is foolish. What we're seeing at the moment is that there's a kind of degree of unstable, how can I say, unstable stability that we're seeing around the country. But I don't think it will really be stable, and that we'll really see a Syria where the refugees can return and where normal relations can resume until there is a transition away from Assad. Because the fact is that many of those refugees who left Syria were fleeing what has proven itself again to be a criminal regime. And Assad is, in the end, the main person responsible for the tragedy, which is the Syrian civil war.
We don't hear those lines anymore from the United States, as if they are okay now that Assad will stay in power. Are they being more realistic than the UK and some Europeans?
I can't really speak for other countries. I can only speak for my own. And we are clear that a transition away from Assad is the best way of achieving a sustainable, stable future for Syria. Maybe I should mention in this context that, of course, in that vision of the future of Syria, we see the refugees who are here in Lebanon returning to their country. I know there has been some controversy about this and some suggestions that the international community wants otherwise. But we want to see those conditions develop in Syria which allows refugees to return safely and voluntarily to Syria. We don't see them having a long-term future here in Lebanon.
Mr. Ambassador Hugo Shorter, thank you so much for this interview. I hope to see you again in our show. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
مشاهدينا أنا بشوفكم الأسبوع المقبل. إلى اللقاء.